a fun part of this show for me is having an excuse to pick the brains of people in tennis that I've long respected. But it's kind of weird if you see them in the players lounge and you just corner them and say, give me 12 minutes of your time. It's a little easier when people are listening also. But coming off of, I know we all are waiting on his thoughts for the masterpiece of a match that Carlos and Jannik played a Sunday ago, and that's before we get into his career as a player and all the people that he's coached, and it's just amazing. And I'm thankful for his time. There's no rest in tennis, so he's right back at it. I think he's in Halle. But Darren Cahill, welcome to Served.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. You're manifesting a little bit with that background. Center court at Wimbledon. You're looking ahead already.
I was saying a couple of years of COVID, trying to get a little bit creative with the backgrounds and trying to spice things up a little bit. So, yeah, this is one of them. I figure also with Wimbledon coming around in about 10 days' time, what a better background to have. So yeah. It is the holy grail of tennis. So you never get sick of looking at that court. As you know, Andy, it's an incredible place to be able to walk on and experience firsthand. And it's, for us anyway, it is the best experience in tennis.
I had so many feelings watching the final between Jannik and Carlos. One was gratitude, that in the vacuum of retirements of Serena and Roger and Rafa, and it's like, here we are again with these rock stars who are responsible citizens and seem to have respect for the game and the people around them, and then it's just, I feel like we skipped a step, right? Like I feel like we went from one type of tennis to these monsters who are, powerful and fast and consistent, and they don't really make errors like we used to miss sometimes, right? Like what were your feelings before we get to kind of the emotion set of a result? Like these two they're kind of different, right?
Yes, they are. No question about it. I struggle a little bit to start comparing them to what we've just had, because what we've just had, I think, is the biggest domination that we've seen in tennis with Federer, Novak, and Rafa. And so I think it's unfair on Carlos and Jannik, especially, to start saying these two guys are going to walk straight into the shoes of those three amazing players, the greatest of all time. So I don't want to put that pressure on these two guys. At the moment, they're doing a great job. They know how big the shoes are they have to fill. They've got the benefit of being able to study these guys for the last 10 years as they were juniors coming through the ranks and getting to their teenage years. They've been able to closely watch these guys and practice with them. I know Rafa took Sinner under his wing and spent a couple of weeks with him in Adelaide during the COVID years, and he got a chance to understand how Rafa goes about his business and how hard he trains. So these guys are coming in with an incredible education behind them. They know what it takes to get to a certain level. So they've got a head start on everybody. And I feel like what's happening at the moment is you've got that next tier below, and Zverev is still there, but then you can talk about Shelton and Rune and the likes of those players coming through, and they are watching closely, and they are doing things to try to bridge the gap. So I don't think you're going to have the runaway domination that we had for 15 years with the three players. And then you throw in Andy Murray as well. Andy was an amazing player, so it was the big four for a certain period of time there. So we won't have that runaway domination. But at the moment, these two guys, they're trailblazing for a kind of a new style of tennis as well. As you said, these guys hit the ball so damn hard and they rarely miss. And the scary thing about it is when they're playing well, they're actually playing with margin. Even though they hit the ball really hard, it's not that risky tennis. So they're making the really, really difficult look pretty simple at times. And that's what greatness is about. And so far, they're doing a wonderful job, both these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about the comparisons to the big three and the big four is the length of time that they were able to sustain it. It's not a moment in time and a snapshot of 2 or 3 years or 4 years, or even Andre would tell you he'd be in for 18 months, 2 years, and then it wouldn't be as good for 2 years, and then he would kind of check back in, and it wasn't this consistency, and that's where the big three or big four have reset. And you mentioned how hard they hit with margin, Darren. I went down to watch Jannik courtside last year at the Open, and I hadn't really I'd seen it kind of that bird's eye view that tells you nothing, that we see on TV and that we see when we're up high in a stadium. I was amazed at the height he was still able to generate, hitting it as hard as his margin over the net is stock shot is 3 or 4 feet above, and it's diving over the net. Like it's to me, it's like I'm so happy that I don't have to deal with that anymore. But is that the biggest change you've seen from, let's say, coaching, Leighton, where the ball flight was pretty consistent? It was a flat, you kind of knew what to expect. Andre taking cuts, it's this piercing ball flight. But when he had a different gear when he was kind of trying to take your legs away versus when he was kind of ramp it up, and kind of that knockout punch. Jannik, it seems like he just comes out and just smothers you with that ball, and you can feel his margin, I would guess, but it's a safe shot.
The two biggest things that have changed in especially men's tennis, but also throw women's tennis in there as well, is the technology has changed a lot. So you were probably at the end of your career when Luxalon came around and they started messing around with strings and racket technology, and they were able to generate a lot more power these days. And with the string technology, they can hit the ball with more spin. And once you hit the ball with more spin, you can take a bigger swing at the ball. And then you can open up more parts of the court as well. So you can make the court a lot bigger for yourself. But the physicality has improved a lot. So these guys, with more years, more knowledge, more technology, more education, better coaching, better fitness trainers, better physios, the players now have bodies that they feel like, if you're a 23-year-old, probably you've got a 28, 29 physically ready body. Whereas back in the day, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you didn't mature into your body until you were much later because of the fact we just didn't put the building blocks in place at the early ages. So we are training the players a lot better these days, more educated, especially in the physical training, way more educated in how to look after the body and make sure it recovers and you're able to come back out and do it again the next day. I know when I was playing, I would have 3 or 4 days of really hard training. Then it would take me 3 or 4 days of rest just to recover. These guys don't need the rest these days because they're doing all the things that lets them come back and keep those building blocks and keep maturing and keep building a better body. So the physicality has really changed. The other big thing also is the sliding, especially on the hard courts. We've seen it on the clay all the time, but these guys now don't care what surface you play on. They've incorporated sliding into all their shots. So the getting in and out of the corners are much more efficient than what they used to be, and gone pretty much are the days of the most elegant player that I think's ever played on grass in Roger Federer, who rarely slid on grass. He had those 2 little quick steps to slow down, and he'd put his full shoe on the ground, stop, then move the other way. These guys are just launching themselves into the corner on a full slide, making contact with the ball, and then in and out of that corner really fast. So the physicality has changed a lot, and the way to move around the tennis court has certainly changed a lot as well.
Is that a weird learning curve as a coach when you see something that all of a sudden becomes normal that's completely different than it was 10 years ago? I mean, that has to be like when someone first does it, you're like, well, okay, that's unnecessary. And now it's like, oh no, it's completely necessary.
Yannick just played a doubles match out here in Halle. He and Sonigo just lost their double, so Yannick wanted to go out and play for another 30 minutes. So we went onto the practice court at the back here, and the first thing he wanted to work on was sliding into the forehand, sliding into the open stance backhand on the grass to get used to it for his match tomorrow, because that's the one thing that worries him the most is timing the slides on the surface. Because on grass, it's an uneven surface. You don't know how long the slide's going to last. So he wants to get a feel for and get the confidence also to throw that left leg out for the open slide on the back end. So I never did this 10, 15 years ago. So I'm feeding balls just out of reach for him. So he's doing open stance slides on the forehand, crushing forehands, and straight away out of that corner into an open stance slide on the backhand to get him ready for tomorrow's match. So yes, the coaching has changed a lot. I would never have done that 10 or 15 years ago, but now it's a must.